Hi there, my name's Evan and I'm Ginger's trainer, and Ginger is very excited to be on camera apparently. So this is going to be a brief crash course dog handling session it's kind of like a go home lesson. That way when I actually send Ginger home with you, you don't have to listen to me ramble for hours on end, and I will keep it relatively brief. Of course, if you ever have any questions after the fact, you're welcome to reach out to me and I'd be happy to help. So we want to just go over, as a rehearsal, some of the commands that Ginger has learned. For instance, we have a recall. Ginger, here! There you go, good girl, yes! So we use the word here instead of come because we find that the word come is used so often in everyday speech that sometimes it can be confusing for the dog. So we just use here. As you heard, you want to make sure that any command you use, whether positive or negative, is going to be said in a nice, clear, high-pitched, excited tone. So instead of, it's just saying yes or no, you want to be yes or no, like that. Get the dog's attention, and it also helps them to understand that you're not just talking to your friend, you're speaking to them. Of course, you can always pair her name with it as well, like Ginger, yes. Ginger, sit, good girl. So we taught her an implied stay, so she will sit without being told to stay. If you want her to stop sitting or doing any other command that is proactive, like healing or whatever, you can use the word break. Ginger, break! Yes, good girl! And the word break simply means you may cease and desist from your current command and just go about your life as a dog. We also, of course, have taught Ginger to heel. Heel. And we also have a loose heel command, which is simply, let's go. That's a nice way of telling the dog, you can keep being your regular doggy self, but follow me, generally speaking. So for instance, if she was excited by some other dogs or sniffing at a fire hydrant or something, I could say, let's go. There you go. And then she's not heeling by my side, but she's following after. Did you hear? Yes. Good girl. Sit. Yes, good girl. And those are the basic commands. Now, I would like to teach you a few techniques when it comes to using the leash as a tool and also the e-collar. She does not currently have an e-collar on her, but you will be receiving one when she gets dropped off. And there is an instruction manual with the e-collar so you can learn how to use it properly. But there's how to use it, period. But I'm going to teach you how to use it properly. So first off, I have Ginger on a prong collar, and you will receive this prong collar with her when she goes home. Now the prong collar, I'm not sure if you're familiar with using them yourself. They are literally prongs that are interlocked. Sometimes they're called a pinch collar, but not because they pinch the dog's neck, but because you have to pinch the prongs together in order to separate them. And that's how you take the collar off. Pinch the prongs at the bottom, pull them through the holes, and it's the same way you also put them back on as well. Hers is currently fitted to her. Of course, if she grows, she's definitely going to need a bigger one. And if it's too big, you can just remove some of the links in the collar. Now, I would recommend using the prong collar only when actually walking Ginger, because if she's going to spend all day in it, she might end up lying down and taking a nap and sleeping. And on its own, that's not a problem, but if she does it a lot, like for days on end, then the prongs can actually start to irritate her skin and she can develop some bald spots or rashes, and that's not fun for anybody. So I would recommend just taking the prong collar off when not in use, or at the very least at the end of the day. Same with the e-collar. It's not necessary that you wear it all the time. Typically, I would only have it on her when she's going for a walk, when you are proactively working on her obedience training, or if maybe you're taking her somewhere and you just want to guarantee that you're going to have complete control over the dog. Now, let's say she's going to be walking and you want to get her attention, or she does something you don't want her to be doing. Well, we also taught her the word nope. Not no, but nope. We find that adding that PE at the end helps it to be a nice sharp word that is easier for the dogs to hear. And like the other commands, I will do it with a more excited, high-pitched voice. So, for instance, nope. There you go. And that's it. Now, you saw what I did there? I did a little pop on the collar. Now, that's one of the reasons I love using the prong collar. A flat collar is a little, shall we say, uncomfortable, because if the dog is pulling and starting to choke itself on the collar, or if you try and give it a pop, all the pressure is going to go right in the trachea of the dog, and that's actually going to end up choking the poor thing. The prong collar distributes all of the pressure around the full circumference of the neck, or about, I'd say, 2/3 of it, where the prongs are actually at. So it's much less pressure on any given point, and it doesn't hurt as bad. The whole point is not to hurt the dog, but simply to get its attention. So if I needed Ginger's attention, I would simply, I'll just pull on this a little, I would give her a little pop like that. Not a yank. We don't want, to drag the dog across the yard. We're not trying to strangle the poor thing. Just a little pop. And that's just enough to jolt the dog out of its tunnel vision, whatever it's distracted by, and then you can go about your regular business. Now with the e-collar, we also want to be careful on using that. The e-collar and these little, pops like nope have been accustomed to the word nope with Ginger. That's why she's going to be more responsive to it, because she's associated nope with a little e-collar, or not, a prong collar pop, or with an actual e-collar buzz. And eventually the idea is that you could wean her off of things like the e-collar, though I would keep the prong collar on regardless, even on extremely well-trained dogs, because it's just so incredibly useful. And some dogs never graduate or off of or wean off of e-collars, which is perfectly fine. If you find that Ginger is always needing an e-collar under certain circumstances, that's not anything to be ashamed of. Some dogs are simply like that. The point I was wanting to get to, though, is selective use of these things. You don't want to just constantly be yanking her chain, literally, all the time. We want to make sure that it's always going to be with intention and with association. Because, and this might come as a shock to hear, but dogs don't actually understand English or human speech at all. But they do learn words and they do learn tones. So if you are angry or sad or happy, they can definitely pick that up. But if you were to say a word and always say it in accordance with an associative act, they are much more likely to pick that up. So for instance, whenever Ginger would sit her butt on the ground, when I said the word sit, I would reward her, and she realized, oh, I was rewarded when I put my butt on the ground when he said the word sit. Therefore, she associates the word sit with sitting. That's how dogs learn, through association. And that's why you want to be careful if you're going to discipline the dog or give it any negative punishment or reinforcement, because you don't want to poison any positive words or commands by making her think that somehow they're being associated with a bad thing. So for example, if I were to say sit, and instead of sitting, she is rolling on her belly or just standing there obstinately. And I kept saying, sit, sit, sit. But every time I did it, I was buzzing the e-collar, I was yanking her chain. Well, now the word sit is going to start sounding a bit more like a punishment word than a command to, put your butt on the ground. And we don't want to poison any words like that. So be sure that if you are going to tell her nope or any other kind of cease and desist command, you do it, 1, at the proper time, and 2, in the proper way. Usually the proper time is going to be right when she's doing that. So for example, let's say I don't want her walking off. Ginger, nope. Good girl. Oh, let me get this around here. And that's all that was needed. As soon as I said that, I don't know if you could see, she immediately stopped sniffing over there and came right back. There's no need to scold her. But if she was doing that, and then she came running back to me, and then I was saying nope, well, so she would be confused. Why are you saying nope? I haven't done anything. I'm just sitting here next to you. Because she's not associating the word with the action that she was doing, 5 minutes ago. That's why, if a dog messes in the house, it does you no good to scold the dog and rub its nose in its poop or whatever and punish it like a child who just broke your grandmother's vase. Because unlike the child, the dog doesn't understand what has happened. Now, if the dog was in the act of pooping or had just pooped and you disciplined it, that's fine. But if it's 3 hours after the fact or even 20 minutes after the fact, that's that's long gone ancient history to the dog. So the association has been completely lost. So there's no point in trying to correct the dog in that moment. That's why you want to make sure you're very quick, and especially if you're going to be using the e-collar. So when you use the e-collar, your e-collar is going to have 3 settings. It's going to have electric shock, it's going to have a buzzer, kind of like when your phone is on vibrate, and it's going to have a bell that will ring, or an alarm. Ginger has been taught using the electric shock. Now again, I want to assure you, this is not intended to be harmful to the dog. We're not putting the dog in the electric chair. There are multiple settings. I think that the collar you're going to get goes from like 1 to 100. Ginger usually responds to anything between like a 5 and a 20, depending on the brand of collar. And I wasn't specifically using the brand you're going to receive, so you're going to have to play with it. Start low and go slow. All right, and then you can crank it up a little bit if she doesn't seem to respond, because many dogs have such thick fur or thick skin that they honestly don't even feel anything. But when you do use it, whether you use the buzzer, the alarm, or the shock, you want to make sure that you use it in the instant that the dog is doing something it shouldn't be doing, coupled with nope. Because when you say nope, and they feel the buzz, they're like, oh, okay, that was something I shouldn't be doing, and I reheard the command. So if I try and go do it again, a second time, and you just say nope, maybe the e-collar is not on the dog, they can respond just as quickly with the verbal command alone without the e-collar, because they've already learned that nope and shock are 2 of the same thing, and they don't want to get shocked, and so they'll come back. Of course, it may take a little while for them to associate a specific cease and desist, like nope, with a shock for a certain event. In this case, Ginger has learned just to respond verbally to nope under most conditions. The only time I've ever really needed to use an e-collar in recent weeks is if she's extremely distracted, like if she's playing with other dogs or chasing squirrels or something. But typically she's been extremely well behaved, so you probably won't need to use it too often. Just make sure, like I said, that it's on a setting that is strong enough for the dog to feel it. So if she jolts or even gives a little yelp, that's okay. You want to grab the dog's attention. Because if you're like, well, it's at 35% and she's not doing anything, well, then she's probably not feeling anything, or your battery's dead. So make sure that the remote and the collar are paired together. But the instructions will give you all those details. So you want to make sure, again, don't be late or early in giving her a positive or negative reinforcement. Make sure it's right on time. So if you're going to spend some time working with her training, make sure that it's done exactly when it needs to be done. Otherwise, she could start to be confused and even scared, because she doesn't understand what it is that you are asking for, and she just withdraws because she is afraid to be punished for something that she doesn't know she's doing. We need to make it extremely clear to the Ginger what it is that is expected of her. Now, when Ginger goes home with you, she's going to be hyper excited, just like you will be. And that means that she might not be as obedient to some commands right off the bat as she has been with myself right now, because she's now in it, 1, back home, 2, very excited, 3, a lot of high energy and people are eager to see her. And that can really be distracting for a dog. Like the park that I'm at right now, Ginger has been here dozens of times. This is old hat for her. So it's like, oh yeah, this park all over again. I mean, there's even ducks. I don't know if you can see them. There's ducks right over here, dogs right over there. And Ginger's like, yeah, whatever, I don't care, because she's been here before. And so it's much easier for her to obey the commands. If you find that your dog is not obeying the commands as easily or quickly as you would like, try doing it in a less distraction or distractive environment. Put her maybe in a room that she's comfortable with, where it's just you, no unnecessary sounds or smells or sights, and just have a bit of focus training there. And that way, once she does really good and has a 4 out of 5 success rate, well then up the distraction level and bring her somewhere where there's more things to explore, more things to get distracted by, more people that might want to see her. And then when she does really good and is succeeding like 4 out of 5 times, then you can up the distraction level even more. and proof it over and over again. We did that ourselves at the facility and at all the various parks and department stores that we've gone to, but we can only do so much. She only spent a few weeks with us. She's going to live out the rest of her life with you. So doubtless you're going to have many more opportunities to introduce her to environments that she wasn't familiar with. Also, make sure that when you give her a command, you're using the words that she was trained to use. Like I said, the word here, not come. The word nope, not no. Or down, or stop, or cease and desist. And those are the basics of being a dog handler. Now, of course, like I said, this is a crash course. This should get you through probably 90% of any issues that you might come across with Ginger and help you to be proficient. But if you have any questions, feel free to text. And if you need, we can always schedule a follow-up session where we can meet you at another park like this, or even this park, or we could, if necessary, meet you at your personal residence, if you prefer that, and have a nice session and troubleshoot any issues. I would just say on a closing note, give Ginger at least 1 or 2 weeks to adjust fully to her situation back at home, so that way her environment is not overstimulating, and that should help her to be more at ease in obeying the various commands that you might give her. Of course, she is a pup, she's hyperactive, she will mellow out as she ages, and the more that you use these commands, the more second nature it's going to be. So we've taught her all that she needs to know, but there's a difference between understanding something and being proficient at it. And she only learns proficiency through repetition and time. And that is where you, the new dog handler, come in. Anyways, that's all I've got for this little going home session. If, again, you need anything else, feel free to reach out. We offer a lifetime satisfaction guarantee for the dog. That's a lifetime for the dog's life, not yours. And so if you need anything, please hit us up and let us know. It was a pleasure working with Ginger, and I'm definitely going to miss having her around. Take good care, and au revoir. Ginger, let's go.